So, with regard to border closures, the United States and Canada last week agreed to a partial closure of the border to all non-essential travel. And that has significantly reduced the number of border crossings that are happening for regular visits and travel and trade. Although trucks are still being allowed to come across with necessary trade ingredients, so that is still happening. The other part of it, though, was a agreement to turn back those who tried to get into Canada or the United States between the ports of entries back to the other country. Now, most of that traffic is going north. There's been 2 years worth of asylum seekers traveling north to Canada, and Canada has wanted to turn them back to the United States. But our agreement with Canada, the Safe Third Country Agreement for Asylum Seekers, had not previously applied to people crossing between ports of entry. So as part of this agreement, they would also be turned back. With Mexico, also, there was a significant reduction in allowable only essential travel between the countries at the ports of entry. And the US government started returning Mexicans and Central Americans apprehended between the ports of entry back to Mexico with little processing after Mexico agreed to do that. The other news of the week is that Customs and Border Protection apparently had asked the Department of Defense to allocate at least another 1,500 troops to help them support their efforts at the border. Now, there have been active duty and National Guard troops at the US-Mexico border for the last year or so after the president asked and requested that. They've been in supportive mission to the Border Patrol, but there had not yet previously been deployed any troops to the US-Canada border. And the news was that the president wanted to contribute 1,000 troops to the US-Canada border. The Canadian government rejected this out of hand, said that there's no need to militarize the US-Canada border, there's no increased threat here, and that doing so would be very detrimental to the US-Canada relationship. So the latest news on that is that we believe the United States is turning back on that plan. But it does show that the administration is still very heavily focused on border security and addressing the borders in the midst of the coronavirus. And some of this is probably still related to their efforts to control migration along the borders, not just to address the coronavirus.